Linux has become very popular, very portable. Nowadays, you can run it on virtually any hardware. Why Windows is not as flexible as Linux? To say that Windows is not flexible would be an abuse, because it operates in a number of quite unexpected places, such as the Xbox's system. Based on the version of Windows, many ATMs are based on Microsoft systems too. Linux was created in times of very strong hacker activity, in the days before DOS and before Windows. In fact, those days, computer users were people who were very aware of what they were doing. It was a time when there were a lot of individuals. If anyone heard names such as Richard Stallman and Linus Torvalds, etc., then these were people who did a lot of work those days. At that time, the only available operating system was Unix. Much stuff was only beginning to form. Software was not that popular. Many people felt a strong urge to do things their own way, especially since the systems were very uncomfortable. Technical support was rather poor. So many home projects, colloquially speaking, sprang up like mushrooms. Linux gained popularity mainly because Linus Torvalds decided to release this system as a so-called free and open software. Free and open software is a philosophy of the software development, where software developers distribute their work along with complete documentation, source code, and all that's needed so that any person could convert, enhance, modify, or customize the software according to their own needs. Any person who modifies the software can also continue to distribute their code, provided that they make their charges available to the general public. This allows both the software developers and software users to benefit from all the changes. Thanks to that, Linux has very quickly gone from something completely non-portable to a system that can run on virtually anything. That's why there are a lot of people working on it, and a lot of people like this system and contribute to the growth of its popularity. Open software is characterized by a wide range of licenses. In the case of Linux, you should know that it's distributed as part of the so-called GNU General Public License version 2.1. This type of licensing ensures that any end user who modifies the software is required to publicize their changes. Interestingly, Linux is not owned by any company or any person. As a matter of fact, the sole owner of the kernel and the entire operating system is the community that produced it. During the 20 years from when Linux was created, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have worked on its code. In fact, each of these people owns only that small portion which he or she created. The Linux system is like a common good. And maybe that was another factor contributing to the growth of its popularity. Interestingly, Linus Torvalds himself does not own Linux, although it should be noted that he is the owner of the trademark, so we cannot create an alternative solution and call it Linux. Because there is no owner, Linux system is developed and distributed so widely and extensively. Originally, Linux was created by hackers for hackers. This gave rise to some problems ordinary users have. You should be aware that both the operating system and the tools available in it are created by developers and for themselves. This is the basic difference between Linux and the commercial solutions such as Windows systems. When Microsoft is creating a solution like their own operating system, they employ software developers whose job is to write such software that will be suitable for the widest possible audience. An operating system, or an Office suite, is designed so that as many people as possible can comfortably use it. On the other hand, when it comes to Linux-type open-source systems, we should remember that most of the solutions are built with the mindset, I create something for myself. And since I devoted my time and I have no intention of correcting anything, I'll just share my solution with others, as it may be useful for them as well. Sometimes this can produce a situation where, from the third person's point of view, so for someone who is not involved in the manufacturing process, some things may seem counterintuitive. It's not always the case. Very often, these are very well thought out software solutions, especially in today's world, when there are many foundations that deal with software development, more in terms of a wider audience, not just personal use. The initial solutions that were created by hackers for hackers were hardly intuitive. They were very efficient and allowed very high productivity. But if an average modern user tried to use such software, he or she would feel rather lost. As I've already mentioned, nowadays there are many foundations that promote and popularize the Linux system. So increasingly often, solutions are implemented on a by users for users principle. Therefore, applications are more friendly, more consistent with the expectations of their intended users. Even though the system has been divided into a number of cooperating modules, its original structure has not been disturbed. Such division allows both advanced users and beginners to arrange Linux as they see fit, according to whatever they need and feel comfortable with. Today, after 20 years of development, Linux has become very mature. While in the late 90s, when the system was created, it was not a serious competitor for Windows when it comes to home use. It's now mature enough and has a wide enough set of tools and is comfortable enough to become a real alternative, especially for certain environments. Software development, which are ideally suited for developers. Also, the multimedia capabilities of Linux are really large. The possibility to run it on any hardware without the need to ask for support from the manufacturer is a great advantage of this system. As I've already mentioned, an average user, unknowingly, has a lot to do with this system every day. As we said, things like routers, phones with Androids, they're all running on Linux. If, for example, along with newly purchased TV, you get a manual that has a GNU or GPL written in it, that means your TV runs on the Linux operating system. Popularity of the system also results from the fact that it has relatively low hardware requirements. This allows us to run a modern-looking operating system on seemingly obsolete equipment. Of course, keep in mind that, say, on a computer with 32 megabytes of RAM and an old Pentium 1 processor, you won't be able to run the latest graphics software, which inevitably requires larger hardware resources. However, we can successfully set up a server on older hardware that will still serve us as a home entertainment center or an internet gateway, for example, as a file-sharing server or regular internet router. Hardware requirements are not high, and therefore Linux is used more frequently.